They say a father's love can conquer death itself, but what happens when that father becomes the very monster his child should fear? In the mist-shrouded peaks of Mount Corvus, a castle stands empty, but not abandoned. For 12 years, something has prowled its ruined halls. Something that was once a man. Something that made a terrible bargain in the darkness below the earth. This is not a tale of heroes and villains. This is the story of a nobleman who loved his family so much. He sold his soul to return to them, only to discover that some prices are too high to pay, and some curses can only be broken by the innocence of a child who doesn't know he should be afraid. Welcome to the Curse of the Mountain Lord. In the time when shadows danced longer than daylight, there lived a noble lord named Viktor, who ruled the misty peaks of Mount Corvus. His castle stood like a stone guardian above the fog, watching over villages that dotted the valleys below. Viktor wasn't a king. He was what they called a landlord, one of many who served the greater kingdom. But to his people, he was everything. Viktor had married the most beautiful woman in all the lands, Lady Ilara, whose golden hair caught sunlight like spider silk catches morning dew. When the war drums echoed through the mountains, Ilara was heavy with child. The kingdom was under attack by the northern barbarians, savage warriors who painted their faces with blood and spoke to demons in the dark.
Promise me you'll return.
Ilara whispered, her hands trembling over her swollen belly. Viktor kissed her forehead and turned to their most trusted servant, a woman named Mara, who had been with them since childhood. "Guard them with your life," he commanded. "You are more than a maid. You are family." War was a nightmare made flesh. The barbarians didn't just bring swords and axes. They brought witches who could turn men's blood to ice with a whisper. They brought shamans who called forth shadows that ate soldiers whole. The king's army was being slaughtered like sheep. During a terrible retreat through the darkwood forest, Viktor's horse stumbled. He tumbled down into a hidden ravine. His body crashed through rotting branches until he landed in an underground cave, bone shattered, blood pooling beneath him. Death was reaching for him. When he heard breathing, wet, ragged breathing, from the shadows emerged a creature that had once been a man. Its skin was like melted wax. Its eyes glowed with unholy light, and when it smiled, Viktor saw teeth like broken glass.
Dying, are we?
The creature wheezed.
I can smell your life leaking away.
Viktor coughed blood. What are you?
I am the keeper of the old ways. I can save you, noble lord. I can make you immortal. But everything has a price.
What price?
Speak these words. I forsake the light of heaven and accept the hunger of the eternal night. Say them, and you shall never die.
Viktor thought of Ilara, of his unborn child. He couldn't leave them alone in this world. "I forsake the light of heaven," he gasped, "and accept the hunger of the eternal night." The change was instant and terrible. Viktor's screams echoed through the cave as his body twisted and transformed. His fingernails grew into claws. His teeth became fangs. His eyes burned red as fresh blood. Then darkness took him. When he awoke, the war was over. The barbarians had won. The king was dead. And Viktor was no longer human. He returned to find his castle in ruins. The walls were painted with blood. His beloved Alara lay dead in their bedchamber, her golden hair matted with crimson. His child was nowhere to be found. Viktor's grief-fueled roar shook the mountain. He became a legend, a monster that haunted the castle ruins. Villagers spoke in whispers of the demon of Mount Corvus, a creature with eyes like hellfire who could tear a man apart with its bare hands. In the village of Ashbrook, a boy named Thomas lived with his mother in a cottage that barely kept out the rain. They had no money, no family, no hope, just each other. When the sickness came, it struck his mother hard. The village healer, an old woman who knew the ancient ways, shook her head sadly.
"There's only one cure,"
she whispered.
"the moonbloom flower. It grows in one place only, the ruins of the old castle on Mount Corvus."
Thomas's blood ran cold. Everyone knew the stories. The demon in the castle, the monster that had killed dozens of brave men who tried to loot the ruins.
"But no one goes there,"
Thomas said.
"Then your mother dies."
The healer replied simply. That night, Thomas kissed his fevered mother's forehead and began the climb. The mountain seemed Olaf with malice. Trees twisted into nightmare shapes. The fog whispered threats. But Thomas pressed on, thinking only of his mother's labored breathing. The castle loomed before him like a broken tooth. Moonbloom grew wild in the courtyard, its silver petals glowing in the darkness. Thomas had just filled his pouch when he heard it. Growl that turned his bones to water. The creature emerged from the shadows. Thomas understood why grown men had fled in terror. It stood 8 feet tall, covered in gray skin that looked like old leather. Its claws scraped against stone. Its red eyes burned with unholy hunger. But when the creature saw Thomas clearly in the moonlight, it stopped. Those hellfire eyes focused on the boy's face, on his eyes, green as spring leaves, green as... "Alara," the creature whispered in a voice like grinding stone. Thomas trembled but stood his ground.
"Please, I just need the flowers for my mother. She's dying."
The creature circled him slowly, breathing deeply. "Your eyes. Who is your mother, boy?"
"Her name is Mara. She's all I have."
The creature made a sound, half roar, half sob. "Mara, my faithful Mara. And you have your mother's eyes, your true mother's eyes." Thomas didn't understand, but the creature, Viktor, finally did. This was his son. The child Mara had saved from the massacre, the last piece of his humanity standing before him in the moonlight. "Take the flowers," Viktor rasped. "Save her. Save the woman who saved you." Thomas, brave Thomas, looked at the monster and saw something else. Pain, loneliness, a grief so deep it had transformed a man into a demon.
"Who are you?"
Thomas asked softly. "I was your father, Viktor whispered, before I became this curse. The reunion was strange and terrible and beautiful. Viktor sent Thomas back with more than flowers. He sent gold, jewels, anything to help the woman who had saved his son. But Thomas returned the next night and the next, drawn by a connection he couldn't name. On the seventh night, Mara herself came, leaning on Thomas's arm, still weak but alive. When she saw what Viktor had become, she wept.
My lord,
She sobbed.
what have they done to you?
I did this to myself, Viktor replied. To survive, to return. But I returned to nothing but death, and became death myself. Mara, brave Mara, stepped forward and took Viktor's clawed hand in hers.
You returned to your son. You returned to me. We never forgot you.
I'm a monster, Viktor said.
You're his father, and that's all that matters.
It was Thomas who remembered the old stories, the tales his mother had told him about curses and their breaking.
Every curse has a cure.
He said,
The village healer says love is the strongest magic.
Viktor laughed bitterly. Who could love this? Thomas stepped forward, and with the fearlessness of youth, hugged the monster that was his father.
I could.
He said simply. Mara joined the embrace, and in that moment, something shifted. The curse, fed by hate and grief for 12 years, met its match in love and acceptance. Viktor's transformation was as painful as the first, but when it ended, he was a man again, scarred, older, but human. The castle was rebuilt, stone by stone. Viktor married Mara, the faithful servant who had become a true mother to his son. The villagers, at first terrified, came to accept their returned lord when they saw his kindness hadn't changed. And on quiet nights, when the moon was full, Thomas would find his father on the castle walls, staring out at the mountains.
Do you miss it?
Thomas once asked.
The power?
Viktor pulled his son close. I was immortal, but I wasn't alive. Now I may die someday, but every day until then, I live. That's a better magic, don't you think? In the village below, mothers still tell the tale to their children, not as a warning, but as a promise, that love can break any curse, that monsters can become men, that sometimes the darkest night gives birth to the brightest dawn. And in the castle on Mount Corvus, where once a demon prowled, a family lives in peace, proof that even the darkest stories can have light at their ending.